What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your man Chaz Ellis once again. Make sure y'all know what's going on, right? Hit that chat, that super chat, so you can get involved in the discussion. Ask your boy questions, all of that. Also, make sure you click that like button. Just keep hitting it. Bop, 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 bop. You know that's good for the YouTube algorithm. That's showing your boy love. Also showing me that, y'all like what I'm doing out here. All right. So what I'm going to talk about today is the lie, the falsehood, the fabrication that you can't get into a relationship until you have worked on yourself. Now, I'm not saying that you don't work on yourself at all. I'm not saying that you don't need to get to a certain baseline in life just to function and to deal with other people. I'm not saying any of that. But somewhere along the way, for men and women, this whole thing has come along where it's like, you got to work on yourself. You got to get yourself perfected. You got to make sure you work on all your problems and all your issues before you start dating somebody else. That sounds cool. But in reality, there's no way that can really work in practice. Because when you work on something, then you're trying to accomplish a particular goal. Like the goal you're generally trying to accomplish is to get into a good relationship. That's the goal you're generally trying to accomplish. And the reason why it's not working out for you a lot of times, like I know people who will sit there and be like, yo, I've been working on myself for the last 3 years and haven't been in a relationship. I'm just building on me. And it's like, hey, congratulations. I'm glad you're building yourself up. But how are you going to apply the things you've built? How are you going to apply the changes when you haven't been in a relationship in years? I'm trying to figure out how these changes that you're making apply to a relationship. So I'm going to use it. I like to use sports as an example because sports is the ultimate meritocracy, and sports has the easiest way to define outcomes. Hey, if y'all new on the chat, hit that like button. As soon as you get on, pop that like button. All right, let's get the likes up to 14 before we go. I see 14. Get the likes up. Hit them likes. All right, also make sure you use the super chat so you can ask me questions. We can talk a little bit. Do that too while we on here. I see somebody like, do it. Come on, hit them likes. All right. So I like to use sports as an example of things because sports really give the best outcome, the best understanding of outcome. You won the game. You lost the game. You made the shot. You missed the shot. You won the race. You lost the race. Here was your time. You can't really debate some of these things. Well, I think I ran faster than last time. Well, according to the actual watches that we have, the timers that we have that use lasers and precision, they say you didn't run faster. So I know you may have perceived that in your mind, but that's not what happened. All right? That's why I use sports a lot of times. I want you to understand this concept when you talk about working on yourself. And not being in a relationship until you work on yourself. Not trying to date until you work on yourself. This is like these people, when you coach basketball, or even if you play and you play with some different people, this is like these people who go and work on their game at home, but they don't play while they're working on their game. They're like, yo, I'm going to work on my shot. I'm going to work on my corner three. And that's what they do. They're like, I'm going to work on my shot. I'm just going to work on my shot. I'm going to work on my shot. So they in the backyard working on their shot every day. Boom, getting my shots up. Getting my shots up, baby. And they're working on their shots. Then they get in the game and they never make a shot. They be airballing, hitting the side of the backboard like Paul George did last year in the playoffs. I mean, they just out here messing up. And you look at the person, you say, damn, did you even work on your game? Do you even work on your game? But they do. They work tirelessly on their game. They just don't work in the flow of an actual game. They don't work with other teammates. They don't work in the flow of the offense that you guys play. So when they get into the actual game, they don't really think about the fact that, oh, wait a minute, when I'm shooting this jump shot, somebody's going to be running up on me. When I'm shooting this jump shot, I may get a low pass and I have to readjust the ball. When I shoot this jump shot, I may be in a situation where I'm really tired from playing the game and playing defense, or I may not know exactly whether or not I should shoot. Maybe the person comes out like they're going to come up on me, but then they back off and I have an opportunity to shoot the shot. So many different variables come into play that there's no way you can work on those variables by yourself. It's just no way. Appreciate you, Lulu. Yeah, tell them hit that like button. There you go. There's no way you can work on all these things that will happen in the course of a game by yourself. It's just impossible because there's just too many variables to work on that in the backyard all by yourself. So a lot of people do that and then they struggle in the game because they can't make shots in an actual game situation. This is what happens a lot of times when you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years off to work on yourself and not be in a relationship. Everything seems like it's great. You're like, you know what? Man, I got in good shape. Man, I got my money right. I worked on some of my past trauma and issues. Man, I'm killing it now. I'm a totally different person. Everything is better. Now you try to get into a relationship or you try to get into the dating game and you start adding new people and new situations to the mix. And it makes it very difficult because now you don't feel like you really worked on anything. You're like, yeah, I got my diet routine. I got all this up. What's up, Jessica? I got my diet routine. I got all this going on. And now I got into a relationship and I'm struggling with my diet. Why? Well, you wasn't going out on dates with anybody, so you didn't have to worry about eating out because you could just say, I'm not going to eat out. You don't have to worry about cooking for anybody else. So that helps you with your food program and what you do there. You don't have to worry about dating and making it to the gym because you haven't been dating, you've just been making it to the gym. So you don't really understand balance because you haven't been balancing anything. You've been focusing on one aspect of life, that's getting in shape, making money, whatever, just you. Now when you start adding other elements to it, it makes it to where like you didn't do any work at all. It's just like I talked about before, when you out here on the court, you've been working on that jump shot in the backyard every day, but now somebody just passed you the ball and where whoever you had passing you the ball was passing it to you right in the shooting pocket, they threw the ball to you at your knees. The person in the game, because you know they got defense on them, so they're not throwing perfect passes every time. They threw it up over your head, and you can't adjust to some of these things. You can't adjust to running up and down the court, then having to make a shot. There are certain elements that start happening that make it more difficult for you. This is why I say you have to keep dating as you're working on yourself, because it also taps into a fundamental issue that you probably have when you're dating. Have you ever noticed that people will say, I got to work on myself after, when they break up with somebody? Have you ever noticed that somebody will break up with somebody, they'll lose weight, they'll get a better job, they'll start working on things, they'll write a book. They'll start working on all of these things that they never worked on while they were in their relationship. And they say, see, now I'm healing, I've improved me. But what they don't understand is they still haven't worked on the fundamental issue that they have in their relationships, whether they're romantic, friendships, or any of those. They're losing themselves. That's a fundamental issue that you're not working on. That's why you have to work on yourself outside of your relationship, because you have a fundamental issue of either getting comfortable or losing yourself once you get into a relationship. Why do you get into a relationship and gain a bunch of weight? Why do you get into a relationship and stop pursuing things career-wise? Why do you get into a relationship and stop working on talking to your friends and hanging out with people and getting to know new people, doing new things? Why do you do that when you get into a relationship? That's going to be the same issue that you run into when you quote-unquote work on yourself and then try to get back into a relationship. When you get back into a relationship, your life is going to stall again because you haven't solved that problem. You've simply avoided the problem. And you want to feel like you've improved. You want to feel like you've made headway, but in reality, you haven't improved the core issue. You haven't improved the fact that when you get into a situation, whether it's a relationship or whatever, you stop improving and you just kind of stay steady wherever you are, and then of course decline. That's going to be something that you have to work on. A lot of times what we do is when we struggle in one area, we try our best to double down in the areas that we are successful in and try to pretend like we're actually trying to improve the overall. I see where a lot of guys get this dating advice, and some of you ladies that are watching this and some of you guys will be able to kind of get something from this. A lot of guys will get this dating advice that says, yo, bro, before you start dating, you need to get your money right, get rich, get in shape, get you a whole bunch of girls, get a rotation first. Then you can get into a relationship after that. Well, that sounds nice and that sounds cool and everything, but the problem that you run into is now, because you haven't been dating really and getting in relationships, you haven't realized what your real issue is. Obviously, you're not going to get a rotation of women if you're not even able to have a decent relationship with one girl. So that's not going to happen. So what'll end up happening is you'll lean into getting in shape, making money, and that type of thing. Once you get to that point, then you might start seeing a little bit more success with women. But as soon as you start getting into a relationship where y'all both care about each other, boom, the same problem will come up again. That girl will start talking trash to you. She'll start running you. You'll stop working on your business. You'll stop working on your health. You'll stop caring about anything else and totally just push yourself into that relationship without accomplishing anything else. Because that's all you really know. And everything else was a mask for who you really are. See, what people try to do is they try to change superficial things about themselves that make you think that the core has changed. And the core really never changed. It's like, here, I'm going to start dressing different. Here, I'm going to start talking different. I'm going to start pretending like I'm a different person. But in reality, you have not changed the core. You haven't changed who you really are as a person. So whenever you get into a situation that's similar, you're going to be the exact same. I'm going to liken it to a sports thing again, boxing. What a lot of guys will do is they'll get beat in a fight. And then after that fight, they'll get out of the ring for a long time. They'll go, okay, I'm not going to spar. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to work on my game and work on my craft. So they get on the bag and they do all this and they moving around. They're like, oh, yeah, look at me with this jab. Oh, I'm killing it with this jab. Oh, look at my footwork now. Yeah, I'm killing it. And they'll be on that bag just going off every single day. Like, yeah, I know I'm the shit now. I could beat anybody. And then as soon as they get back in the ring and they get challenged or they get tested, guess what? They go right back to doing what they was doing before, curling up, swinging wild. They do the same thing they were doing before because they didn't actually fix the core issue. They didn't fix the fact that your problem isn't that you don't know how to throw a straight punch. Your problem is that as soon as somebody hits you, you just blank out and just forget everything you ever learned. That's your real problem. And until you address that, all the other stuff isn't going to matter. Your problem is as soon as somebody starts hitting you, you get scared and uncomfortable and you start wanting to give up. Until you change that, you're not going to actually fix your situation. It's just that you're putting on a mask. And as soon as somebody exposes that part of you that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you not want to throw back, that makes you not want to, that makes you not throw straight punches, it's going to be the same thing every time. Yeah, you just delayed the inevitable by staying out of the ring. That made you feel like you've achieved. That makes you feel like you've changed. But as soon as you get tested again, you realize you didn't. And that's kind of what happens with these relationships. People will tell you, man, change your life, do this, do that. But what you're really not understanding or recognizing is the fact that 99 times out of 100, you haven't really changed anything. And as soon as you get back into a relationship with somebody, as soon as you go back on a date, all the things that you think you've improved are going to crumble right in front of you because they're not built on a real foundation. Also, I think one of the things people got to realize about improvement is improvement changes your your expectation and what you bring to you. That can be a good thing and that can be a bad thing. I was working with a guy who is a millionaire, all right, multi-millionaire actually, and we were having a conversation about just where his struggles with women are, and he was saying one of the biggest things that he runs into is people think because he's a millionaire that he has no problem getting women, and he was like, what you got to realize is because I'm a millionaire, my circle is millionaires. I don't hang out with people who are poor. How could I? You know, like, what, are you gonna be a millionaire? He's hanging in a trailer park or he's hanging in a projects or something like that. That doesn't make sense. Like, how would he be able to do that? So he's like, because of that, when I'm dealing with a woman, she's not somebody who's just so surprised by the fact that I got money that just does everything for me. He's like, a lot of times I'm competing with people who also have money. And it's a situation where when you get into the relationship with the woman and she gets used to the money, then it doesn't have the same power that it once did. He said, plus, if all I got is money and that's the only way I'm attracting women, now I'm attracting a bunch of gold diggers and that's a whole nother problem. And I was like, yeah, unfortunately, we talked about just how to build him up in a real way and how he interacts with people. Because a lot of times what we do is we don't fix our personal relationships in the way we interact with humans. So it's like, say your problem is like, man, I struggle with my finances. In my last relationship, our finances were a real big problem, and that pretty much broke up our relationship. So now you go take a bunch of financial literacy courses, and you really get good with your finances. You're like, yo, I got this down pat now. And you're like, yo, this is what's up. I'm gonna go into my next relationship and I'm gonna know what's up. You get in your next relationship, everything is beautiful. Y'all love each other, kind, sweet, gentle, but then y'all start getting to the point where your finances kind of get combined a little bit more. As far as just even if y'all don't share a bank account and stuff, but just, hey, we got bills and things like that and things that we do together. As that starts happening, then you start recognizing the fact that, wait a minute, this person has a little bit different of an idea of what I want and what they want and what they like to spend money on. But I know from my financial literacy courses that I'm right. But here's what you didn't learn in your financial literacy course: how to communicate that to somebody else, how to deal with somebody else's financial priorities and your priorities at the same time. It sounded cute that you did all of this stuff and all this work, and that was great. But because you did it without working with anybody else, because you did it without dating, without talking to people, without seeing how you come off when you say certain things or when you deliver your new ideas, because you didn't do that, now when you're dealing with a new person, even though you may have all the good ideas, even though you may be that person with the financial literacy, you're still fighting over the same stuff because you didn't learn how to connect with somebody else and how to work your finances with another person, and even how to just communicate your ideas with another person. That's an issue. All right, hey, if y'all want to ask me some questions, hit the super chat feature. I'm gonna hit them first. So make sure you go ahead and hit that super chat feature. And I'll get to you as far as the questions are concerned. See, a lot of times what we deal with in life is this whole concept of let me win where I can win. And I'm going to call that improvement. I'm really not going to improve on anything that I struggle in because that's difficult and I don't know what the outcome might be. So let me win where I can easily get a win. And, I think because of that, that's why we hear a lot of this, just work on yourself. Also, when people give you advice, a lot of times, I'm going to just keep it real, it's easier to tell somebody not to put your advice into practice until a longer period of time. Because if I give you some advice or I give you some information or I give you a strategy and I say, hey, plug that in right now, when it doesn't work, you're probably going to get pissed off at me. You're going to be like, yo, you told me to do this and it didn't work. What's wrong with you? Why would you tell me this? Why would you give me this type of information when, when it's not going to work? So if I don't think that what I'm telling you is going to work right away, then I can put you off by saying, here, these are all the things you need to do before you even try to implement it. You need to do all of this before you even try to implement it. This is what you constantly get. Make sure y'all mashing that like button, all right? Mash that like button. And so it makes it to where it's delayed and you start feeling like, okay, well, I got to do all this stuff before I even put it to the test. So of course you feel like what I'm telling you is working because you're doing things that you can control the outcome on. If I sit here and say, well, before you start dating, you need to lose 20 pounds. Okay, you get in the gym, you lose 20 pounds. You feel like everything I'm telling you as far as dating advice is actually working because you lost 20 pounds. Now, what that means as far as your dating situation or whether or not you're going to be more successful, it doesn't mean anything. Maybe you might get a little bit more attention out in the street, but since you're not actually dating those people and you're not actually getting in relationships with those people, you think you're being successful or you think you're improving, but you're not doing the same thing or requiring the same thing of it. That's like guys I know who would sit there, yo, appreciate you. Let me see what we got. That's like guys I know who will be like, man, since I've been married, thank you, Loving K, appreciate you. That's like guys I know who will be like, yo, when I put this wedding ring on, all these women like me. All the women on me now that I got married. All the women want me now that I got married. I'm like, bruh, that's what you think because now every woman who smiles at you or every woman who makes a little eye at you or whatever, you have counted that as a victory. Like you're like, yo, this girl wanted me, I got this girl. But before you were married and you actually followed through on a smile, you followed through on any type of positive feedback and tried to turn it into something more, then you got to realize that them chicks didn't really like you and they wasn't checking for you in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times what happens is you can do certain changes that give you the ability to create a false reality. But until you actually put it on its feet, until you actually test it in the real world, you can't say whether or not you've made any real progress. I'm just being real. We can sit here and say we made progress all day long, but if you haven't made progress doing the thing that you were trying to improve upon, then how can you really say that that you've actually made any real progress? You see what I'm saying? No, you haven't made any progress. You haven't made any progress because you haven't actually attacked the issue that you were struggling with in the first place. If the issue you were struggling with in the first place was relationships, if the issue you were struggling with in the first place was how to connect with other people, if the issue you were struggling with was that you kept ending up in the friend zone, if the issue you were struggling with is that you kept ending up friends with benefits, if the issue you were struggling with is that you kept getting in relationships that went nowhere, if that's the issue you were struggling with, how can you say that you improved on that particular situation because you lost 50 pounds, because you got a better job, because you moved to a better neighborhood, because you deal with some of your traumas? Yeah, that's great. That's great. And that's improvement in those particular subjects. But that's not necessarily going to be something that will work in that particular area of your life. It doesn't mean that you've changed the area that you existed in before or the area you were having trouble in before. That's just not gonna help. You feel what I'm saying? Ultimately, what we need to do in life, if you want to see improvement in a particular area, you got to keep improving and you got to keep trying it on its feet in that area. It's like people do in business too. See, when we look at things outside of the relationship realm, we start seeing how ridiculous it is. Everybody knows that person who is constantly talking about business, but they don't have a business. A person will constantly do that. They'll be like, here, I'm in this business. I want to tell everybody about this business, but I'm not actually in this particular business or this particular field or any freaking business whatsoever. This is what people will do. Have you ever noticed that? Like, it'd be somebody like, yeah, man, this is what you need to do with real estate. It's like, bro, what real estate do you own? Oh, I don't own no real estate. Oh, okay. What real estate deal have you ever been in a day in your life? I never been in one. Okay, so you keep telling me about these real estate deals. You keep telling me about all this stuff. I get it, but at what point are you going to actually start doing it? Because you keep talking about, yo, I'm about to blow up and I'm about to kill it. I'm learning everything about real estate. But at what point are you actually going to do some real estate? You keep telling me about business, but at what point are you going to actually get a business and start putting what you say on its feet and seeing if your ideas actually work? How do you know that these things that you've been studying and talking about actually work when you've never tried to do any of it yourself? And even if it did work, you know what I mean? Even if some of it did work, you got to keep working and keep doing new stuff. Okay, you got that house, you flipped it, it went really well, great. But then you got to do new stuff. You know, you can't see if something works until you just keep doing it and keep working on it and keep growing in it. All right, let's see who we got on here. On the Chizat. Oh, thank you. Is it Maria or Maria? Maria D? I might be messing it up because that's what I do sometimes. Yeah, hit that super chat. That's the first question I'm gonna take, Noah. Hit the super chat. I'm definitely taking questions. If y'all got questions, hit the super chat. Get into questions, and I'll hit you as I'm talking. You know what I mean? As I'm talking about some other stuff, it could be about different stuff. It doesn't really matter so much. I try my best to get to you. Okay? And I'll just start hitting questions there. Some of the stuff that people ask me in the DMs about, you know, just as far as relationships go and building up, people have this feeling that there's a level of perfection that you have to gain before you can even get in a relationship. And what I like to talk to people about is, if you can get with somebody, if you can connect with somebody at whatever your baseline is right now, and you improve, that's only going to make them like you that much more. That's only going to make the relationship that much stronger. And you're not stuck with somebody just because you got with them while you weren't in your best situation. I know society will try to make you feel like you have to stay with somebody. Oh, they was with you when you were broke. They was with you when you weighed 357 pounds. Hey, if they don't continue to grow and you do, you have every right to get out of a relationship that you're not happy in or one that's not working for you. You know what I mean? That's the reality of life. You don't have to stay in a situation that you're not happy in. If you're growing, that's going to put you in a situation where you can evaluate your life. Even this is true with friends. This is true with everybody. If you outgrow a situation where it doesn't make sense to you anymore, you can get out. But that doesn't mean that you just have to say, well, I'm not going to be in a situation at all because I'm not perfect and I don't think that I'll attract somebody who's perfect. You can get in a situation and keep growing. You can get in a situation and say, hey, man, you know, I'm going to improve myself even while I'm in this relationship. I talk to a lot of guys about this when it comes to money. A lot of guys are like, man, you got to be rich. You got to have your money straight. You got to be balling out of control in order to get somebody, in order to be with somebody. I'm like, bro, that's not true. If you get somebody who likes your personality, who will date you while they're on a blanket with your ass in a park somewhere rather than a super nice restaurant, that person probably really freaking likes you. So as you keep getting your money up and doing better and better, they will just like you more. You know what I mean? Now it makes it where you can provide more to them and do more for them. You don't have to have everything together. Just if you have some stuff together, then it's going to make it easier. But you don't have to have everything together. You can actually get it together more and more while you're in a relationship. If you're not able to do that in a relationship, then you're going to deteriorate in that relationship anyway. My dad said this, throughout my entire life. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So if you're in a relationship and you're not improving yourself in the relationship, you're actually getting worse. Because you're getting worse just because they know you. When a person has known you for a long time and you've been in the same position without growing, just even in their estimation, you're getting worse. That's what often drives a relationship downwards. A person starts out one way, they stay in a relationship for a long period of time, and they have absolutely no growth. It's like, dang, when I met you, you was working at this job. Dang, when I met you, this was your level of education. When I met you, this was your level of knowledge about particular subjects. Dang, when I met you, this is how you handle problems and conflicts. Man, when I met you, this is how you dealt with your family and your family members. You haven't grown or changed since then. Thus, I feel like you've gone down just because you've gotten older. This often happens in relationships and it causes a person to feel like they want to move on. Especially when you're not growing and you're with a person who is growing. That's when they start feeling like, man, this person not even on my level anymore. And you expect them to stick around with you just because y'all got together a long time ago. We've been together for 10 years. How you going to leave me? They're growing. You're not. And you don't have to grow the same way. But what growth are you making? What are you doing? Where have you improved? Be real with yourself. Because a lot of times what'll happen is when you're alone and you're by yourself and you don't have anybody, now you start doing some real evaluation because the results have come in. Man, it's a third relationship that I done lost. Dang. Trying to go out on some dates. They ain't work out too well. You know what? Maybe I do need to go to counseling. You know what? Maybe I need to move out my mama's basement. That could be, I remember my girl was saying, move out my mom's basement. That could have had something to do with it. Maybe that's why she was treating me like that, because I was living in my mom's basement and she got tired of it. Man, maybe I do need to lose a couple pounds. Man, maybe I do need to quit snapping on people at the Wendy's and the Dairy Queen. Maybe I do need to stop doing that. Maybe that's why he was always talking about the fact that I was snapping on everybody and I was getting mad and I was always having a bad attitude. Maybe I do need to work on my conflict resolution skills. These are things you start thinking about after a breakup or when you've been alone for a while. But what you got to work on is the ability to assess those things while you're currently in a relationship before you lose one. Some people only improve themselves after a loss. It's like you got teams that are like that. Some teams, they got to lose by 30 points. Then they start saying, maybe we should pass the ball more. Maybe we should start playing better defense. Then you got other teams that are like, hey, we could have lost this game. We need to get better. We need to improve certain things so that we don't lose the next one. That's the concept of I got to get myself together before I get in a relationship. And no, I can actually improve myself while I'm in a relationship. I can keep dating while I'm improving myself because I don't have to be at rock bottom. I don't have to be in a situation where everything is falling apart before I start making small, minor changes to my life that can have a huge impact on my outcomes. Mash that like button. Let's get it up. Get it up. Let's try to get the likes with the number of people in the chat. Everybody hit the like. Everybody. Everybody. So yeah, oftentimes this is where we run into an issue dealing with people, dealing with the human condition, is we'll get with people, we won't put the effort in to changing, we won't put the effort into improving the relationship. It's like, you get in a relationship with somebody and you don't learn how to cook. Then you break up with them and you learn how to cook. But now you get in a new relationship and you can't cook any of the stuff that that person actually likes. You know what I mean? See, that's why you got to work on yourself sometimes when you're dealing with the actual person, so you can work yourself according to some of the things that they like and don't like, so you can actually work yourself in the actual relationship. Fellas will do the same thing, like, oh man, I've been working on myself. My girl said I need to learn how to salsa dance. Then you get with a new girl and she likes square dancing, or she want to do that can do the electric slide. You don't know how to do any of those things. You're not building up who you are. You're not building up things in terms of the relationship either. So I think that's a big thing. If you want to make your relationships better, if you want to make your relationship stronger, that's where you go with it. Build inside of the relationship. Build while you're dealing with people, while you're talking to people. Build, 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 grow, 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 grow. All right, Loving K. How do I work out a marriage filled with deceit and finances and lack of boundaries with females? I left and he wants me back, but I'm enjoying my peace. If you're enjoying your peace and you feel like there was a lot of lies, deceit, and negativity in the relationship, first thing I would do is go back to the beginning, even in my mind. What made you choose this particular person? Were they cool in the beginning? Also, what happened? You said there are lies in terms of finance. Why? Is it a situation where y'all money was messed up and y'all not in a position where y'all are managing your finances very well? Does this person have some issues that you might have wanted to learn about before you got with them? Like, do they have gambling problem, drug problem, things of that nature? These are things that you want to look at, because just leaving this man and going to get another one isn't going to necessarily change your situation and make it better. What you got to do, though, is you got to say, okay, if I did get into another relationship, what is it, if I was going to try to stick in this relationship, what could I fix? You feel what I'm saying? What's fixable in this relationship? What would I do to fix this relationship? Even if you're not going to stay in it. Because then it says, maybe I could avoid those problems in my next relationship. If we have financial issues, as far as like we're not being real with each other about our finances and stuff like that, or maybe that person's lying to me. Okay, like you said, you're working together and supposed to be saving. How did this happen? You see what I'm saying? How did we get into a discrepancy in terms of the savings? How did we get into this type of situation, and how can I make it to where that doesn't happen later on? Okay, so maybe next time when you want to do it, you say, okay, here's your money, here's my money, here's an account that we might have to save for, and we're both going to agree that that's what we want to do, and we're both going to agree to what we contribute to this account, and maybe we'll even put it somewhere where we can't touch it. You know what I'm saying? This is certain things that you can actually do to just deal with those situations in the future. As far as whatever cheating or whatever might be going on, be real and be like, yo, what's going on in this relationship? How did we start this relationship? Was it built on the correct foundation? Was I, when I met this person, did I just get with him and marry him after like a year, 6 months, something like that, 2 years even, without really knowing them, without really making a connection to know, how to solve conflict? These are things you want to look at, because sometimes you can improve upon those in that relationship and fix it. And sometimes just by examining it and thinking about it and working on it, it's something you can fix before you get into the next relationship. Or when you get into the next relationship, you can say, okay, here's some of the things I need to know about this person. I need to know how they deal with finances. And then we need to learn how to communicate about those. I need to know how they deal with conflict in a relationship. Do they deal with it by cheating on me? Do they deal with it by talking? And if they have conflict and they have something they want to talk about, do I respond? Or do I shut them down to the point where they just say, forget it, let me go get somebody else? Betty Crocker, let's see. I'm quite quirky. Don't think like most people. Have a unique interest and am introverted. I'm also very attractive. How can I date being so different? Well, I mean, most of the time we think we're more different from other people than we really are. But, as the saying goes, there's nothing new under the sun. One of the biggest things you got to do is just try to find people with common interest. You could be really quirky and all of those types of things. Normally, there are other people with similar quirks. I mean, you got to think there are people we're all so different, even as human beings, that we concentrate a lot of times on our differences without recognizing that there are a whole bunch of other people who are really different from us. It's just that we group them all to make them seem the same. So when you meet somebody and you may think, oh man, it's the quirkiest, weirdest thing ever that I'm doing, or I'm a type of person that's really awkward when I'm talking to this person. And the reality is, it may not really be that deep. So give yourself an opportunity by going out, dealing with multiple people, and just trying to find people that you have some things in common with, at least on the surface. So if you feel like you got a lot of different types of interests, then join some groups and some clubs that are centered around those interests. Like for instance, say you like, yo, I like diving for sea turtles. That's me right there. Sea turtle diving is what I do. If that's what you like to do, then join some sea turtle clubs. Join some diving clubs. Join some groups of people who just like the water. If you do that, you'll start finding people who are more like you, and then you won't seem so weird and so quirky to everybody, because it'll be like there'll be some quirks that you have, but you'll be around people who are a lot closer to you as far as your interest. The more you can get around people who share similar interests, the more you don't really focus on what makes you different. And then a lot of times you also start feeling like the things that make you different are good. You got to embrace that too. All right, we got anything else? Okay, Betty Crocker's back here again. She says, I've had long-term relationships in the past and dated a lot, but now I want to get married. I've done lots of self-reflection and learned I'm not for most people based on my unique personality. I mean, the truth is nobody's really for most people. I think you're being too hard on yourself. Nobody's for most people. You don't got to be for most people either. You could be for because you just said you wanted to get married. I'm guessing that you probably want to get married to one person. So you only need to be for one person. You already doing a good job at getting out there. I think you just got to change your expectation. And when you date to get to know people and date for fun and date to make a connection. Don't just be so caught up in, I got to get married. Because then that makes you feel like your differences and things about yourself that are fun, that make you unique, are holding you back. That's like, it's like when you play ball or something like that. You like, I got to get 30. Well, when you start thinking, I got to get 30 points, it makes you play worse, because now you think every time I pass the ball to somebody else, I'm taking away from my chance to get 30 points. Every time I play defense, I'm taking energy away from myself that could help me get that 30 points. You get what I'm saying? This is what problem that a lot of people have with just focusing so much on getting married. When you focus so much on getting married, you start thinking that everything else that happens along the way is actually deterring you from your goal. When in a lot of ways, it's actually making you better, stronger, as long as you look at it in the right way. It's making you better, stronger, and making you more capable for when you actually get there. So when you date, I know y'all hear it all the time about dating with a purpose, but I say the purpose of dating is to have a good time, to get to know people, and to enjoy the situation. the other stuff will fall into place as you get better and better at it and get more comfortable with it. After doing some really deep work and reading more of my self-development and taking personal accountability, I learned I lack confidence and fear rejection. Thank you for your insight. That's dope, Kay. Yeah, one of the best ways to get over fear of rejection. This is what I used to teach salesmen, because I actually do sales management. What I would teach my salesmen is go out there and get rejected. You'll realize it really doesn't hurt, and most of the time you really don't even care once you get to the point where you've been rejected enough. Any good salesman knows that it takes no's to get to a yes. So that's not a big deal once you do it over and over and over again. But if you always fear it if you try to avoid it. It's like people with the water, like some people can't swim because they just never get in the water. They never really try. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to drown. But it's like, hey, just get in. You could get in water that's up to your kneecap. But just get in and just keep getting in and keep getting in until you get used to it. Rejection is the same way. It's beautiful. Embrace it. You can learn from rejection. A lot of the problems that we have with rejection is we build up all these negatives about ourselves. This is kind of where even self-improvement comes from. We'll build up so many negatives about ourselves. And every time somebody rejects us, it's like they fill in all the gaps and they confirm what we already believed. So you go out on a date with somebody and they don't call you back. It's like, yep, see, I knew it. I am stupid. I do say dumb stuff on a date. Yep. Everything I thought about myself has been confirmed by this. And then you don't want to do it again because you feel like, well, that confirmed everything that I thought. And that becomes an issue. And a lot of times, even when you do self-reflection and self-improvement, it can, in some cases, oddly enough, increase the fear of rejection. Because you're like, what if I did all this and I still get rejected? Well, let me stop the suspense. Chances are you're going to do all of that work and you're probably still going to get rejected multiple times. But that doesn't mean it didn't work. That doesn't mean that you haven't improved. It just means that you need to keep working on how you work relationships, how you deal with people, and finding somebody who is more interested in connecting with you. Sometimes it takes a while to do that, but along the way, you're building good skills, conflict resolution, understanding where people are coming from, interpersonal skills that you can use when you do find somebody that you make a good connection with that actually likes you. All right, make sure you hit that super chat. Also hit me with a sticker too. Hey, if we make it to 100, I'm going to tell you guys a story about when I used to be a police officer. As y'all know, I've had a million jobs over the years. I like to tell a story on the lives. If we make it to 100, I will tell you a story about when I used to be a police officer. It's a crazy story. All right, I'm gonna hit y'all with that. If we make it to 100, we're at 3276 now. So if we make it to 100, there's enough people on this chat. It's like almost 50 of y'all in this chat, so we can do it. If we make it to 100, I'm gonna tell you this story. And some of y'all used to watch Story Time with Chaz back in the day. This is gonna be a story time with your boy Chaz. If we make it to 100, I'm gonna tell you this story. All right, let's look at a couple people in here that have asked. Okay, how to meet rich guys? Where do they hang out? How to get them to come up to you and talk first. Look, some people are gonna be mad at this question. This young lady's asking how to meet rich guys and where do they hang out. Rich guys hang out in a lot of different places, but the thing about meeting rich people, if you're trying to meet a rich dude, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. First of all, there's nothing wrong with that. Because it's just like a guy would say, hey, how do I meet a really pretty girl? Duh. I mean, that's probably what you want to meet, really pretty girls. So if you want to meet a rich dude, the biggest thing you got to do is you have to change your network. Because you could go to the yacht club and meet a rich dude, but if you don't know anybody at the yacht club, it's going to be hard for you to talk to anybody. It's going to be hard for you to make a connection, and you're going to have everybody blocking you and getting in the way of what you're trying to accomplish. So you have to kind of start building up your network. So what you want to start doing, I'm assuming that if you're trying to meet a rich dude like this, we'll just work from if you don't really have money like that. That's what we'll work from. What you're going to need to do, look, this is not ethical type of moral advice, okay? I don't freaking know what your ethics or morals are. So all I can do is just tell you what to do as far as like the real way to go about it. So if you want to meet rich dudes, real talk, first thing you need to do is you need to get a sponsor. Your sponsor is going to be a middle, lower class sponsor. It's going to be somebody that's somewhat thirsty. So if your product ain't really good, like you don't have yourself up looking good, your Instagram ain't right, your Facebook ain't right, all of those type of things that are like the dating, non-dating site type of stuff. If you don't got that up, you need to take care of that. If you don't got your appearance taken care of, you need to take care of that. Once you do that, get a sponsor. All right, here's what your sponsor is going to do. Your sponsor is going to help you keep yourself up even more. So now when you do want to go where rich guys are, you got a nice dress to wear. You can get your sponsor to get you a car, rent your car or something like that so you and your friends can go out. Your sponsor can help you, just help you with some of the financial stuff so that you can go meet somebody. So get yourself a good little sponsor. Then use the stuff that you got to start getting into better circles. So maybe you want to start taking tennis lessons, which will get you around people with a little bit more money. Or you might want to take golf lessons. Tell your sponsor, yo, I want to take some golf lessons. They help you pay for the golf lessons. Now you start meeting ladies and stuff like that while you're playing golf. Ladies while you're playing tennis. You start getting to meet these different people. This starts pushing you into the circles. People see you more. You get a buddy. Once you get a buddy, that buddy will act as a tour guide for you. Somebody who's already in the circles with rich people. When they're already in the circles, they're going to be like, yo, this is my friend right here. Pretty soon they start seeing you over and over again at different parties, different get-togethers, and you get certified that way. See, a lot of women think, oh, I could just meet a rich guy, normal and regular. Now, this is consultation advice I'm giving you right now, so people who stayed on the chat. But a lot of women that think, oh, I'm just going to meet a rich guy. But until you certified by the group, it's going to be almost impossible for you to get a serious relationship with somebody that's got any significant amount of money. I'm just keeping it real. So you got to get around, get in the group, start getting to know people. And like I said, you get your little buddy, and usually your buddy got to be a girl. So sponsor gets you the money and stuff like that you need to get in the circles. Then you get a buddy, and the buddy takes you into more of the inner circles where you're going to parties, you're hanging out, they get you the VIP, things like that. Now people see you more, you become certified by multiple people getting to know you, and now you're going to have more opportunities at rich dudes. It's really not that difficult. I guess that was a little complicated, but it's not that difficult. It's just that people trying to do it out of nowhere. Like you might try to go to the club where rich dudes hang out, trying to make goo-goo eyes at them and then wonder why they don't come up to you. A lot of times they don't because you're just not really in the circle. They're looking like, why should I talk to you? Consequently, guys, you can do the same type of thing too. Like you can get with a lot of really, really high level women by doing the same thing. You can get a sponsor. You can get a chick that's a sponsor too. She can pay for your clothes, pay for stuff like that. I mean, you can do the same thing. And if you found that offensive, then you're a hypocrite. What up, Brienne? You didn't know I was gonna be here this early, did you? What up, Lulu? Are you still in here? These are people who come on. They're always on my on the lives. If you come on, I remember you. Petty Jane, I see you again. I know you've been on here before. Okay, we're gonna go through a couple of these little questions or whatever. If you want to get yours to the top, hit that super chat button. Cause I'm only gonna be on here for about 10 more minutes. So I probably will miss you. And if you ask the question and then you got off of here, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, this is Noah. I'm not gonna go into your whole name because this might make YouTube. This girl that really likes me and I like her too, but I'm not trying to be committed to her yet. Okay, she wants me to be before her boyfriend. That's okay. Y'all got these abbreviations and stuff. I tried. Asked me yesterday and am I talking to anyone else? I said yeah. So after I texted her that I'm now I'm not actively talking to anyone, and that I'm still want to see where our relationship goes. I just don't want a relationship to change after my response to her question. Look, Noah, I don't know how old you are. Hopefully you're 18 or above. But if you don't want to be in a serious relationship with somebody, then you got to be desireless in that situation. You cool with the girl, you hanging with her. If you don't want to be in no serious, committed relationship with her, you got to respect and understand the fact that she may get with somebody else. She may take the fact that you be hollering to other girls personally. I mean, this is life. This is how things work. There's nothing wrong if you don't want to be in a serious, committed relationship with somebody. That's your right, bro. You can choose whatever you want to. Freedom of choice in life. But you also got to understand the fact that if you tell somebody, hey, I'm not trying to be in a serious relationship, I'm trying to holler at other people, then you got to realize that she might start hollering to other people too, and the relationship may go left. Once you text her that, you have to let go and be like, hey, whatever happens, happens. When you tell somebody I don't want to be in a serious relationship, I might talk to somebody else, you got to accept that whatever happens, happens after that. This is the life you chose. You can't choose the player life, then get mad when it blows up on you a little bit. You gotta just accept it. Like, this is the life I chose. Do you believe? What's up, Amy Sue? Did you just get on? Because I didn't see you on here earlier. Do you believe women over 35 have hit the wall, as some YouTubers think? If not, which age of men date women over 35? I've heard about the wall. I don't know if I'm not gonna sit here and say for sure that there's no wall or whatever the hell, because I don't really know exactly what I understand what they're referring to. Like when they say wall, if they're talking about wall in terms of fertility, I mean, we can't argue science. But I think a lot of the wall that most women hit is really in their own mind. That's the wall that most women hit, is the wall of desperation. Because I work with a lot of women of all ages, and or I guess 18 and above, but I work with women of multiple ages, I should say. And the wall that I see them generally hit is the wall in their mind. Women will usually turn 35 years old and they'll be like, yo, I gotta get married by next year. I gotta have a baby. And they'll just be on all this type of stuff. And it makes them desperate. So nobody really enjoys dating them. But if they don't take on those characteristics, then most of the time it doesn't work that way. Most of the time they can get guys who are 35, 36, 37 and up, and sometimes even younger. It just depends on how you take care of yourself physically, what your finances look like, if you are kicking grown-up game, or if you're still trying to behave like you were in high school, and try to kick high school game, like, oh, well, if I make him wait 30 days, then he'll start liking me and all that stuff. I mean, if that's what you're still doing, then yeah, it's going to seem like you hit the wall. The only reason why you see guys being able to get girls, no matter how old they get, is because they use the resources that they've got over time and they develop game. The dudes that don't do that, they struggle too. They hit the wall, if you want to call it that, too. If the thing that's going to make it to where you don't hit a wall is that your game grows as you get older. You start understanding, hey, this is what men want. This is how I talk to men. This is how I connect with men. You start understanding the fact that, hey, I'm not on some kind of crazy time constraints because of my age. Hey, I chose whatever I chose in life. So I'm going to keep working as if, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to sit up here and go, oh, well, I'm 35 now. If I don't get married in 2 weeks, then, it's over for me. If you start thinking like that, then yeah, it's going to be like you hit the wall. It's called self-fulfilling prophecy. Everybody keep telling you hit the wall. You start believing you hit the wall. So, of course, you start going into relationships with this great level of desperation. And, because like, what if you're 35 and you look 25? I'm trying to figure out how it's just the age. It can't just be the age. Normally what it is a personality change. When a man dates a 24-year-old girl or 22-year-old woman or whatever you want to call it, when a man dates somebody in that age group, that woman usually acts like they have a lot of options and they have all the time in the world. When you date a woman that's 35, 40 years old, 99 times out of 100, she's on a time clock. She's like, oh, I hope this relationship doesn't break up because then what will I do? And that gives her no power, makes her powerless and weak. And now that's the wall that you were talking about. That's the wall that she's hit. All right, I'll be on here a few more minutes. If y'all want to hear this story about when I was a police officer, it's crazy. Go get us up to 100. Got a few more minutes to do it. Get us up to 100. And I got you on this story. It's going to be crazy. So yeah, I hear a lot of this about the wall too. Look, I'm not here to pander to y'all women and try to tell y'all, hey, if you have kids, hey, if you get older and all that crap, it's not going to affect your dating situation, because it is. But it affects it as much as your other growth affects it. So if all you do is just keep getting older, but you don't develop new game, you don't try to use your resources in a better way, well then, obviously it's gonna come off like you hit a wall and you're not gonna be able to get the same people you used to be able to get. That goes without saying. Because if you do that, then why would, it's like an old man in the club. Can a 50-year-old dude in the club get the same girls that a 21-year-old dude can? Clearly not. Now, if that same 50-year-old dude comes to the club, buys out the bar, sets up in the VIP, and has total control over the club, okay, well then, yeah, he probably will get the same girls. But that's because he's using the resources that he has, that he got from, time and growth. He's also probably kicking game to the chicks. Like, yeah, girl, let me take you here, and, oh, let me use this different thing to leverage and bring you out into my world so you feel like you got to work to be with somebody like me. All the different things that you would learn as an older dude that's a little smarter. But if you're still trying to kick 21-year-old game and you're 50 years old, you still got 20-year-old resources, and you're 50 years old, then you would hit the wall too. Is that what what you want to call it? You hit the wall too. If you're 35 years old or 30 years old and that's your situation, you'll hit the wall too. If you're kicking 25-year-old game at 30, if you're kicking 19-year-old game at 40 years old, then yeah, you're going to feel like you hit the wall. Somebody said, I think the wall is a passive aggressive way for men to bash women. Sometimes, sure. But that's with anything. That's like calling dudes scrubs and stuff like that. I mean, calling people narcissists. That's like a passive aggressive way to bash men. People generally want to bash people because, all right, I'm gonna break this down to some of y'all ladies here, and this is something that some of y'all may not know. The reason why you hear so much negative propaganda about women with children, women who are older, I'm gonna break this down to you. A lot of men spend a lifetime getting rejected, getting looked over, and passed over by women. Women like you, like the people who are in this chat right now. Some of you are, I can see your pictures. Some of y'all are really attractive and stuff like that. You got to think about all the dudes that you put in the friend zone, all the dudes you ignored, all the dudes you just never, and I'm not saying this to down you or nothing like that, but we got to be real here. These guys become angry and upset about that. But what they're constantly told as they're young is this. When you get older, it's going to be your time. She's going to stop being as pretty and you're going to be rich one day and you're going to be able to get back at her basically. She's going to get with Chad and Tyrone and have a baby and she's going to be a single mom and her life is going to be completely ruined. And she'll never find anybody good. That's going to basically be your revenge. Is look at all the memes you see that show that where regular guy, who was studying and working diligently. This is the same concept of the work on yourself until you get into a relationship. This is what people teach these guys. So this bitterness comes into play where a lot of guys will be like, women weren't checking for me when I was young. She wasn't checking for me when she was young. So my hope is that when you get older, no one's going to want you. You're going to hit a wall. You're going to be baby mama with nobody who will ever want to be with you and everybody know you'll never have anything. That's the hope in reality. I'm being real. Because they feel like you basically shit on me throughout my entire life. You basically made me feel less than throughout even if you didn't say anything negative to me, just the fact that you never picked me, you made me feel less than. So now I'm hoping that when you get older, you won't be able to get anybody. I'm hoping. So then men tell that to women also. So when a woman is like, man, I'm 35 years old and I'm struggling right now. Instead of somebody saying, well, here's some of the things you could do to change it. Here's some of the things you could do to make it work better for you. What a lot of dudes will say is, no, this is what you get. This is what you deserve for thinking you were better than the average guy. This is what you deserve for thinking that you were, big stuff back when you were in your prime. And now I get to watch you squirm and watch you suffer while I get to be the person. Let's keep it a buck. A lot of y'all women are the exact same way. You want to see a dude who overlooked you or who didn't treat you right. You want to see that dude broke, struggling, doing bad. You want to see him in an old nursing home. It's like women used to always tell dudes, well, keep that up. You're going to die old and alone. Men just doing the same thing now and got a platform for it. Haters are haters no matter what sex, no matter what group. But that's where that's coming from for women now. All right, what's up? I got you. If a guy goes out his way to be rude to a girl when they have been unprovoked, what does that mean? Just curious, not relevant. Hey, That happens all the time. A lot. You never know whether something is provoked or what. Sometimes you may not do anything to them, but it's provoked by someone else. Sometimes it's provoked by them just looking at you and thinking you probably the type of girl who wouldn't even talk to me. F you. I know it sounds crazy, but you'd be surprised. I mean, this is where that rudeness comes from. I always use this because it comes from men and women. Some people just have it in their mind too. That like they feel like you would reject me. I didn't try to talk to you yet, but you would reject me. You probably think you're too good to be with me. You know, F you. This is why people who are rude in general are like that. You know, like you ever see people who things just aren't going their way and they just go around being rude and mean to everybody? This is kind of where it comes from a lot of times. You know, people are often like that. They just feel like, man, forget this person. Okay, let's see what else we got here, and then I'll get up out of here. See if we can at least hit that 50 mark before I go. Yeah, I think the one thing I'll leave you guys with is about just dating is supposed to be fun. I know it sounds crazy, but dating is supposed to be fun. Relationships are supposed to be fun. I think what happened somewhere along the way is we stopped looking at relationships as regular stuff. Only in the world of relationships can a person be with somebody else for 20 years, build empires, have a great, strong, loving family, then that breaks up and people look at it as a failure. That only exists in the world of relationships. Nobody would say that in a business type of situation. They'd be like, oh, you know, both of these people left with good opportunities and good things going for them. This was beautiful. People don't generally think that with relationships, though, unfortunately. And I think because of that, people feel like any relationship, my next relationship is going to be my last. You know what? It probably won't. And there's nothing wrong with that. Have fun in your next relationship. Grow in your next relationship. Enjoy your next relationship. Always build and work on yourself. Whether you're in a relationship, not in a relationship. And don't use self-improvement and growth as a cop-out in a way to avoid actually getting in the game. Some people don't do anything but study, whether it's business or whatever, and you use study as a way to get out of the game. I don't want to actually try. I don't want to actually take risks, so I'm just going to study, and never pull the trigger. You got to get out there. You got to do stuff. Otherwise, all that studying is in vain. All right. Once again, it's your man, ChazzEllis. For those of you who haven't subscribed, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, make sure you go over to ChazzEllis.com and get some of these premium videos. Right now, I think it's called Breaking the Dating Code. You can get that as 20% off right now. It's a really comprehensive way. It's a really comprehensive message about dating and some of the different things I talked about here, but really goes in depth into how you can actually work the dating game, how you can work the system, how you can improve your game so that no matter what age you are, no matter what situation you're in, you can actually get better outcomes. It's your man, ChazzEllis. Peace.